food. Live. Okay. Welcome to On the Line. Today I'm here with Chris Debo from Bubba downtown in Des Moines, Iowa. I'm your host, Victor, and this is your first episode of On the Line. Chris, thank you for having me.
Excited to be with you. Congrats on the new show.
Thank you. And congrats on Bubba turning 10 this summer.
10 years, hard to believe.
So bring me back to 2016. How did you see Bubba becoming what it is today?
Bubba actually started as a pop-up concept in 2013. And so it was just an idea and was not meant to be brick and mortar at that time.
Oh, wow.
So we did it for 3 nights at Hoyt Sherman in their gallery space. And we set it up as close to a real restaurant as we possibly could. We got a burner cell phone. We took reservations. We did a splash page website. We turned tables. At that point, our staff, of course, was just borrowed staff from other restaurants. So they didn't know how to tie bow ties, which is part of our uniform now. So like my dad and I were tying everybody's bow ties. And it just started as a little creative expression. My family's originally from Texas, spent our summers in North Carolina, and this is the food that we grew up loving, and it really wasn't represented here yet. And so we thought we'll do it as a pop-up. And turns out people loved it. The pop-up sold out. All the press covered it at least once. Wow. And that's when we started going, maybe we should shop for a brick and mortar concept. And it took us a few years, kissed a lot of frogs, had some heartbreaking moments where we got really close on a location and it just, for whatever reason, didn't pan out. And I almost gave up. It's tough. I mean, I was 10 years younger, and it's expensive to pay architects to dream up stuff. And then when it all falls apart, you go, man, I just spent how much money for nothing? And thankfully, I had some investors and some other partners professionally that agreed in the concept, believed in the concept. And when this space came about, we jumped. So this was an old brew pub before, and it was very important to us. The brew pub had been there for 18 years. It was called Raccoon River Brewing Company. And it was important to us that we make the space look very different. We did not want it to be a retread of the brew pub. So we moved the bar, we moved the staircase, we added chandeliers, we repainted everything so that you wouldn't recognize anything other than the 100-year-old tile floor that was historic to the building, and we wanted to keep that.
And it looks wonderful.
Thank you.
So 10 years, that's a very long time.
Yeah.
How did you get the staff to buy in? Because you did say they were borrowed staff.
Mm-hmm. And some of those people actually joined the real team. Others were just nice enough to help with that pop-up and have a little fun. We brought back a person that I had known in high school. Her name was Kate, and she'd been living in New York and working her way up through the New York hospitality scene, which is very, intense, cutthroat, lots of hours. And Kate was ready to have a little more work-life balance and move back to Des Moines. And I caught wind of that and called her and said, hey, would you want to help me open a restaurant? And that's how we landed our first general manager. And we also are partnered with a management company called Orchestrate Hospitality, and they help us with all the back office. So they help us with accounting, HR, payroll, marketing, social media, and it's a really important partnership. We collectively bargain on our food costs with the food purveyors. So we have a lot of back office help, and we pay for it. We pay a fee for it, but it's been a really great arrangement. And they've done some of Central Iowa's most well-known brands like Chintro and Gateway Market and Zombie Burger. And so we've got a nice sort of collective family of hospitality brands that help each other.
Okay. So was there again, along the line, was there any point where you seemed like, this is it, I'm done, I'm tired?
Well, we had a great opening. And the first 4 years were amazing. And then the pandemic hit. And the pandemic was brutal for all businesses, but especially hospitality. And I was very scared that was going to be the end of it, And you're going through that period in real time, and the business still had bank debt. Our rent was extremely expensive, is extremely expensive, and you're going, I've got 40 employees that count on me for work and benefits, and that was a very tough time. And for many months I thought about this could be the last week or month, and thankfully people were just very generous with their pockets. People would come and buy $30 worth of to-go food and tip $30, tip 100%. And that really replenishes your faith in humanity when you're going through a bad thing, that there was enough people in the community that said, we don't want to see this go. We want this to be here when the pandemic is over. And that was helpful.
Okay, so how do you establish a liking in a community like that? Because I see companies go down all the time because they have no community support.
I think that's true. One of the things I tell people when I consult for other businesses is you can have a dream of what you envision your business to be. And that's great until you open the doors. Mm-hmm. And then ultimately the customer decides what you're going to be. And if you don't listen to your customer, you will not survive. And that is the biggest thing. I maybe would have personally made this a little bit more upscale menu, but the customer didn't want that. The customer wanted something that was more approachable, family friendly on the pocketbook, and that kind of thing. And so you have to adapt to that. And you find other ways to scratch your creative itch. Like right now, we're doing a Bubbles and Birds promo for our 10th anniversary that is a champagne beer battered double dunk chicken sandwich that comes with our fries and a glass of Veuve Clicquot champagne. The feature's $45. And, people were buying them at lunch today.
Oh, wow.
Now, that's not something that would fly every day. And that's not normally a price point that our customers would hit with much regularity. And that's okay. But you can do it for a 1 week window as a special. And it's fun to do that sort of stuff. Much like how Bubba came from a pop-up to begin with, doing these little activations in a pop-up fashion keeps you top of mind, which is also important at 10 years. Everyone wants to talk about the new restaurant. They don't want to talk about the 10-year-old restaurant. And so you have to come up with ways to keep yourself in the public eye. And I think the last time I checked, that video about the Bubbles and Birds Veuve Clicquot collaboration had over 180 shares on Instagram. And people are talking about it, and we got to keep constantly innovating like that to keep top of mind, because this is a hustle and it's a low margin business.
Yeah, it sure is. Okay, you spent your career in PR and public affairs. Mm-hmm. If you were advising independents, where would you start?
I do advise independents. That's one of my favorite things I get to do, is help other business owners. And part of it is I'm very honest about where we've had failures and what potholes I would guide people to avoid. I think that's some of the value that I bring when I consult with other people is here's a list of places that I failed, and you should learn from my mistakes because they were expensive, and don't do that again.
Yeah.
I always start with a phrase when you're building a restaurant is, if you cannot describe in less than one sentence what it is, don't do it. Because the customer, we live in a fast soundbite world, and the customer needs to know in one sentence or less what you're doing.
So how would you explain Bubba in one sentence?
Southern comfort food.
It's perfectly put.
Yeah, and Centro is Italian food, or urban Italian food, or Malo is Mexican food. But when people start saying, well, I'm a new American with French influences and subtle, the customer's not going to get it. Mm-hmm. And, that old line, keep it simple, stupid, is really the best line. And so it's figuring out how to wrap your head around that. And so sometimes I refer to Bubba as the greatest hits of the South, right? Because we're not strictly one region of the South. It's got very diverse food groups, but we're kind of a greatest hits. We've got shrimp and grits from the Southeast. We've got, chicken fried steak from Texas. But you got to boil all that down into one little talking point.
Yep. All right. So you mentioned your dad teaching you how to tie bow ties.
Mm-hmm.
So is there anything else that he taught you that's keeping Bubba open today?
Well, that's a great point. My dad is a minister by trade, and he's a very kind man. He loves to cook, and he embodies hospitality. So I definitely think that I picked up a lot of hospitality from him. But yes, learning how to tie a bow tie was all from him.
Wow, that is a insanely hard for me skill. I still don't.
It's tough. The real trick, I always tell people, you can watch those videos on YouTube all you want, but there's one little part when you're wrapping around there that you just can't see on a YouTube video. And once you've figured out that one little spot, then it's easy. And then the YouTube videos are helpful, but you got to find this one spot back there that it just takes a lot of muscle memory.
Yeah.
But once you learn it, I've had people that have come in here before their weddings and they'll say, "Would you help us tie all the groomsmen's bow ties?" I'm like, "Yeah, buy a round of drinks and I'll tie your ties for you." So
yeah, I like that right there.
Yeah.
That's how you build community support right there.
That's right.
But so 10 years in the future,
Mm-hmm.
where do you see Bubba standing?
It's an interesting point. Over the years, I've had daydreams about expanding. What that might look like is that another brick and mortar full scale Bubba just in another market, or is that an offshoot? Is that more of a fast casual, just fried chicken sandwiches and French fries? There's so much competition out there in the franchise space, whether that's a Raising Cane's or a Chick-fil-A or you name it.
It's hard to beat those.
A lot of people are in that game, and so right now we're really focused on just staying on this corner. The pandemic was tough on downtown Des Moines. We used to have a huge, thriving daytime population of workforce here. By some estimates, over 90,000 people came to work in downtown Des Moines Monday through Friday. And that's all pretty well gone. With remote work and hybrid work, it's just a fraction of what it was. And so we're taking a moment to breathe and think through what the next 10 years looks like for us. We're in the process of renegotiating our lease right now. We want to stay in downtown Des Moines. We want to see this little hiccup through. But the ecosystem down here is changed, and it's now turning more towards residents, and they're turning a lot of these office buildings into apartments and condos. And that's good for nighttime traffic. It hasn't been great for daytime traffic yet. So we just have to see, we have to see. Also, the impact of GLP-1s, like what are people doing with weight loss drugs, and how much fried chicken do people want to eat 10 years from now?
Yeah, no, that is a huge problem that I don't see owners put together much, because that just blew my mind right there. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, full disclosure, I'm on a GLP-1 right now. I've lost 50 pounds. I used to be the guy that would go and order a whole round of appetizers for the table, get desserts for the table afterwards, all that. I don't do near as much of that anymore because I just don't have the appetite to do it. And when you think about that cutting into the bottom line at a restaurant, it's real. I mean, if you take that times 1 in 3 tables, it's real. So part of what we have to think through is are we going to go down a track of creating a small portion supplemental menu to keep up with people? Maybe they don't want the whole fried chicken platter with the 2 sides and the blah, blah, blah. Maybe they want 1 piece of chicken and 1 side or something. And does that make financial sense? And so that's what I think we'll spend the next couple of years toying with, is how does this fit in a GLP world? People will always want splurge food. It's just, will they want enough of it that we would want to scale it to larger spaces? That's the other thing, is 10 years ago, we were opening big restaurants like this. Bubba's over 7,000 square feet.
Oh, wow.
Today I would not open a 7,000 square foot restaurant. But thankfully Bubba's paid off, so we're okay, but it took a long time to pay it off. 10 years in the restaurant world is 3 lifetimes. So
yeah, I keep hearing that.
That's right.
So how do you see yourself continuing with the decrease in sit-in restaurants?
Mm-hmm. Well, first and foremost, I'm not actively looking to do other full service large spaces. Right now, I'm working on a fast casual concept, totally different style of food. It'll be kind of a Mediterranean fresh. It'll be counter service. You'll go through and you'll build, I want a grain bowl or I want a salad or I want a pita, and you'll build out your meal. Kind of like a Chipotle or, yeah.
Yeah, that's different.
And it's much smaller. It's 1,300 square feet. It's fast casual. It's designed for takeout, which is where, at least in downtown Des Moines, I think a lot of the business is gone. So I'm going to explore fast casual in totally different concepts and see what I learn in that world. We're in the early stages with another group of people about talking about a casual neighborhood pizza concept. Again, that would not be downtown. That would be in an actual neighborhood, and much smaller, more than half the size of Bubba, about 3,000 square feet. Mm-hmm. So we're looking at calibrating different food concepts to see what the market resonates with. And some of those are big gambles. Construction costs are crazy through the roof. Labor is high, food costs are high. So, some of this is highly educated guesswork, but still there's a risk.
Yeah, there sure is. But with all that being said, is there anything that you would give other operators that would like to follow in your footsteps?
Absolutely. I think the first one is I came from the marketing and communication side of hospitality. I'd worked on building other people's brands and promoting other people's brands. I had never been an operator until Bubba. And I worked here for the first 4 years full time to fully understand the business. And now I've gone and diversified my career in other ways. But one thing I wish I could have done from the get-go is have a chef partner with me on day one, because there's only so much I can do. I've now learned all the front of house side of things, and I'm a recreational cook at home, but I'm not a chef. Mm-hmm. I can't hop on that line and help a night where we're going to do 200 covers. So in a perfect world, an aspiring restaurateur out there that is not a chef by training, I would suggest first and foremost, try like hell to find a chef partner that can be in the trenches with you. So, frankly, when the shit hits the fan, you've got someone that can be back there rolling up their sleeves and helping you cook while you're managing the front of house. As I look at new concepts, I'm constantly thinking about who's the culinary talent, and could they be a partner with me, or are they a staff person? And that's my number one piece of advice, is if you can, partner with the chef before you do this. Otherwise, you are at the mercy of your employees, and that ebbs and flows like any job.
You heard it here first. If you need help, get help.
Yeah.
This was On the Line. I'm here with
Chris Diebel at Bubba.
And I'm Victor, your host.